morning, good afternoon, good evening. You are watching the Paris Fintech Forum Communities video interview series. I'm Elliott Gotkine, and today I'm joined by the co-founder and CEO of Memo Bank, Jean-Daniel Guyot. Great to have you with us.
Great to be here, Elliott. Thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so before we get cracking, we're going to learn a little bit more about Memo Bank. So Jean-Daniel, you're not a consumer neobank, you're not a super app style fintech, but you are a real bank, but focused on small and medium-sized enterprises. What's the Memo magic here? What makes you different from other banks, both traditional and more digital, that serve small and medium-sized enterprises?
Well, we took a really different approach from the fintech industry in general. Our idea at the beginning was that fintech was a bit of an unfulfilled prophecy. Actually, 10 years ago or 15 years ago, even we all heard that banks were to die at some point, and that they were finished in some way, that they will be disrupted by all the fintech and all the new initiatives. And then 10 years after, actually, they are still here and they still dominate the market. And on the other side, despite the millions or hundreds of millions or billion invested in a traditional bank, the experience is still not good. They are still fighting with the legacy, with all the old systems they've got, and all the history that refrain them to be really innovative and to create new experiences for the client. So we wanted to create a real bank. First of all, we were one of the only ones to get the full banking license from the ECB, and we also created all the technology behind to really be able to provide this new experience, especially to SMEs. So our goal is to provide a real bank, a modern bank, like really new financial foundations to those enterprises.
And give me some of the numbers if you can, Jean-Daniel. Money raised, number of customers that you have, perhaps your path to profitability if you're not already there.
Yeah, we raised in total 58 million euros, which sounds a lot, but it's not actually in the fintech industry. We started the bank with only 7 million euros. We created the bank with not a lot of money, but we think that you don't need to spend a lot actually to create a really effective and new bank. We have a few hundreds customers right now. So they are really big customers. We don't target the really small companies, freelancers. We think that the fintech payment institution do a really great job at doing that. Those customers need a bank account. They need payment tools for the most part. We are a real bank, so we provide credit, we provide deposit, we provide payment tools. So we provide everything that is needed to compete against the traditional banks.
And you're backed by a who's who of French entrepreneurs. How important was it to receive their support? And I don't just mean their money.
It was really important for us because we designed the bank for those medium-sized companies. So we needed those people who had the experience, like me, to create a company first and to struggle with the traditional banks. All those investors were at some point frustrated by their experience with banks. So they know that we can do better. We can provide a better experience, and so that they were really convinced that we could do something. The other part is it's a long shot. So we also have investors that are able to be passionate enough to create really strong foundations, really structure for SMEs. And so we needed people that were on board with us on this side.
So we've heard a little bit about Memo Bank. Let's now learn more about Jean-Daniel. So Memo Bank isn't your first rodeo, as we might say. You also founded and sold Captain Train. Presumably you also in the process made enough not to have to work again. And yet here you are founding another company. Why?
Why? That's a good question. So yeah, I created Captain Train, which was a train ticket reseller at the European level. We were bought by KKR in 2016, and we did an IPO with the new company, which name is Trainline, which is really well known, in 2018. All the experience I had with Captain Train, which I built from nothing, and I had absolutely zero experience in being an entrepreneur at this time. I thought that it would be really interesting to create a new company, to have a new venture, and to enjoy this experience actually. And what I love to do is to fight the big guy, to fight the incumbents, to also break the barriers. That's what we did with Captain Train. We had to fight and walk against and with all the incumbents in the market, and that's a bit the same with the bank. Big barrier. I like that because when you have a barrier and you are able to be behind this barrier, then it's harder for your competitors to do it also. So the barriers protect you. It's hard to get through, but it protects you after that. So I like that. And also it was I was convinced that we could do something in this industry. There was no competition against the traditional banks, so I was really convinced, and my co-founder and our investor were convinced that we could really do a breakthrough and change the industry. So that's what we are doing. So it's a big challenge. It's a pleasure also to work with this team every day. I'm really obsessed by customer experience. This is really the thing I've been working for the last 20 years on. And I like to put technology at the service of this customer experience, at the service of the customer relationship. And bank is kind of the ultimate customer relationship, because your client needs to trust you, of course, but you also need to trust your clients. That's kind of rare that you have this on both sides. And so the customer relationship is really is key. And and we know how to do technology. That's really our expertise. So we love to put this expertise and this technology at the service of the customer relationship.
And Jean-Daniel, your profile on Twitter, now known as X, says every minute counts. That's pretty much all it says. Every minute counts, and you created Memo Bank. Are you a workaholic? Is that what you mean? Every minute counts? What does that mean?
It doesn't mean that at all. I like to work, but that's not what it means. It means that for an SME, every minute counts. Like, it's really how the world has become. If you want your company to be really efficient, to be a good, to be viable, to be good competitor in its industry, every CEO, every CFO, every company knows that every minute counts, and that's especially true and more true every day. Because let's say, for example, let's say you want to win, you want to buy stocks, for example. 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you had time to do it. You know, you took the time to to do all the paperwork and do the payments, and everything was kind of slow. It was what we call postal mode. It's like everything could take days, and that was the way it was. Now everything is working around the clock. If you want to get those stocks, you need to be the first to pay. You need to take decision very fast, and you need your bank to not be in the way, but really to be. You need to have a partner that allows you to pay fast, to be paid fast, to attach all the data, for example, to the payment, to automate everything. And we are still in 80s. We are still in the 80s in the banking industry. It's still like the postal mode for everybody.
And Jean-Daniel, if every minute counts, what do you do with the minutes when you're not working on Memo Bank, if you can tell us briefly?
Well, I'm taking care of my family, of my friends, and doing sports. That's what I'm doing. I have a passion now for triathlon, so I try to train for that. But that's pretty much all.
You could maybe be the first Iron Man who heads up a bank eventually, but we'll see.
Maybe.
But look, Jean-Daniel, a key part of this interview is to get your take on the future of finance. But first, we are going to take a very quick break, after which we're going to continue our conversation with Memo Bank co-founder and CEO Jean-Daniel Guyot. Welcome back, and don't forget, if you're not already a full member of our community, everything you need to join can be found at www.parisfintechforum.com. And now, Jean-Daniel, let's talk about the future of finance. So let's talk artificial intelligence to start with, because that seems to be all anyone talks about these days. How is AI going to change banking for businesses, for SMEs?
Well, there is a good chance that AI will change everything in the banking industry, and so we are studying it a lot right now. I know that American Bank and CEOs of American Bank have recently communicated a lot on this and said that AI would be everywhere in every process, and that's kind of, I mean, that's true. We are seeing application of this in kind of every part of our processes. But it needs to be done with. I mean, we are in the banking industry. It's regulated. It needs to be done properly. We think that there are a few things that are important. Of course, privacy is important. Do you want? We are very careful about the data of our customers right now. So we don't want their data to be shared with other companies. So how do you do AI but in a private way? either by doing it yourself locally or by having contracts with companies that respect that. The other thing is, which is really important in the banking industry, especially for credit, for taking decisions for loans, is that you have to be able to prove that your decision are taken in a fair way. That's hard to prove. That's really hard to prove now with the AI model that we have. So you can't really explain why you take a decision with AI. So I think we need to wait. And it can be useful to help us right now, but we can't automate 100% of the process because we can't ensure that it will be 100% fair for the customers if an AI takes decisions. That's really important. So we are really careful with that.
And whether it's fair or not, I guess giving credit right now when there is so much uncertainty in the world is also very tough. And I suppose for a fintech, whether you like the description or not, it's doubly tough because, of course, valuations have plummeted and it's very hard to raise money. So whether they are fintechs like yourself or traditional banks, I mean, how should banks be positioning themselves right now to ensure that they can withstand any stresses that may come along in the event of a recession or some other calamity?
Yeah, so there are two sides to this question. One is the regulation. Regulation is an important part of our job, of course, and regulation is there to ensure that banks, even if they do mistakes, will be able to sustain a crisis and to accept non-performing loans at a certain rate, of course. Well, regulation is here to protect everybody, and we respect that. And the other part is it's our job. It's our job as banker to know the risk. So that's really our main job, a certainty or not, to assess the risk for every company, and we do that. We did that 2 years ago, and we are doing that right now. Of course, there are uncertainties, but actually for a bank, there's always uncertainties. Even if the sky is bright, you always think that there will be some clouds and rain at some point. So this is part of our risk culture, which is really important for a bank. The other part is, of course, prices now are not the same that they were 2 or 3 years ago. So that's here also to reflect this uncertainty in the market and to price this risk. So in a way, there's no magic here. It has always been the case and always been working like this. Maybe it was more. I think we are more in a normal world now, from the banking industry perspective, than we were 3 years or 10 years ago with negative interest rates. And we are all maybe relearning to do our banker job like we were doing maybe 15 years ago.
Right, and of course, the current situation, as you say, it's partly for regulators to ensure that banks are well prepared and well stocked to withstand any problems. But of course, as we saw with Silicon Valley Bank, the current situation isn't necessarily as tough as it ought to be in terms of preparing these banks for problems that may or may not lie ahead. But of course, the SVB issue was interesting because it wasn't just about management, about having a large enough amount of capital in reserve in case of problems. It was also about technology because everyone was able to take their money out so quickly. So do you think, is there a danger that technology has gone too far, that could in itself create more dangers for banks, for the financial system?
Technology evolves. That's always been the case. and banks need to adapt to that situation. So that's true that you can. We were talking about that at the beginning. We want our clients to be paid and to pay as fast as possible, because that's the way it is. That's how they will gain new markets, and that's super important. So banks need to adapt their process, their technology, their organization to that fact, and to the technology. So we always adapt to new situations, to new technologies. So it would be a mistake to say technology will kill or will endanger us. Technology will evolve. That's the way it is, and we need to adapt to this. And that's especially important with fast payments. So your asset liability management need to be adapted to that situation. That's what we are doing on a daily basis, and that's the new way, and that's all.
Okay, and just finally, you're based in France. You are focused on France. Is France the best place in Europe to start or found a fintech or a bank right now?
Well, we are French, so we started here. I think it's quite normal. We have an ECB European license, so we are not stuck in France. Our goal has always been to be the first European bank. So that's Memo Bank was designed for that, was built for that, and we will do it in the future. In the following years, we want to be really sure that everything is working in a proper way in France now. We want to become profitable. That was your question. I didn't answer it at the beginning, but we want to become profitable next year, and then we'll see how it goes and what country we will do. But definitely, we want to be the first European bank. Because I'm saying that because, of course, there are European banks, but they are more like European brands for me. It's an association of different banks in different countries, and they all have the same brand, but the experience, the client experience, the customer experience for those banks are really poor most of the time. If you have an SME and you are in several countries, then you have several banks, and then you have more and more problems. You don't have a unified solution. You don't have a unified bank experience. That's what we want to provide at the European level. That's the other challenge that we have.
So Jean-Daniel, it's now time for our round of rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I've got 90 seconds, hopefully, on my clock, on my phone. So I'm going to start this when the alarm goes off to show that we're out of time. We will stop. So just one word answers is all I'm after from you. What fintech segment has the biggest potential over the next 5 years?
I didn't hear the question. I'm sorry.
Which fintech segment has the biggest potential over the next 5 years?
Well, I think it's the SME segment,
okay,
of course.
That's fine. Just the one word. What is the biggest pain point in your everyday financial life that you would like to see resolved?
European unified experience is bad.
Are we at the beginning, middle, or end of the fintech wave?
We are at the really beginning.
Do you have a metaverse strategy?
We don't believe at all in metaverse.
That's a no. Do you think regulators in the EU and US have kept pace with all the possibilities and behaviors in the financial industry that technology has brought?
Yes, I think so.
How would you describe non-fungible tokens, NFTs? A scam, B, an interesting concept, or C, part of the future that we really don't want to miss out on?
It's a scam.
Have you personally ever invested in crypto?
Never.
Okay. Are physical points of sales... Oh, we'll finish this question. Are physical points of sales part of the future of finance?
Of course they are.
Okay. Well, we heard the alarm there, so I'm afraid that means we're out of time for this round and for our conversation, unfortunately. So I really just want to thank you, Memo Bank co-founder and CEO Jean-Daniel Guyot, for joining me today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elliott.
And for everyone watching, we'll be back again next time with another big name from the world of finance and technology. We do hope you'll be able to join us again then. In the meantime, don't forget to subscribe to the Paris Fintech Forum YouTube channel and to follow us on Twitter at Paris Fin Forum. That's all for now. See you next time. Bye-bye.